So this is our 5th class, so it's important point number 5. They are categorized, the first 5 tend to be pretty mechanical, physical, like head suspended, you know, closed chest, lift back, loosen my waist. Substantial and substantial, it starts to teeter on esoteric, but that still is differentiating where your weight is. It's a tangible, physical thing. We're going to do sink shoulders, drop elbows. That's also very physical. The next 5 start to get more philosophical, a little more esoteric. They're not as tangible. So they're kind of divided into those. So we're approaching the last of the obvious physical important points. So head suspended is the first one. Closed chest, lift back is the second one. Loosen the waist is the third one. Just differentiate between substantial and insubstantial is the fourth one, which we did last class, which is, remember, that's knowing where your weight is. Rarely, never in Tai Chi are you what we call double weighted for any extended period of time. You're not like equally weighted on both feet, because then you're easily knocked off balance. So this last one is let the shoulders sink down and drop the elbows. Sink shoulders, drop elbows. Commentary. If I remember, this one's a little bit repetitive, like if your shoulders are up, your elbows must be up. And if your shoulders are down, your elbows must be down. I think it's one of those. Let's see if I'm right. Commentary, let the shoulders sink down. I mean, the shoulders should be loose and drop down. If you are not able to let the shoulders be loose and drop down, then the 2 shoulders will be sticking up. In that case, the chi will follow the shoulders and go up, and then the whole body will not have enough strength. Drop the elbows means the elbows must drop downward and be loose. If the elbows are suspended or held up, then the shoulders cannot be dropped down. You will not be able to send your opponent far. This will look like the external system's broken gene. They kind of throw some shade at external styles, kung fu, karate, any of those types of things that use force to push an opponent. You know, we're not really into throwing styles under the bus here, but that's what he's talking about, is because sometimes they'll be like, you know, like something will be up and contained to an arm, not, you know, linked to your body. So that's kind of, they're just throwing a little like, our style's better than your style. But sink shoulders, drop elbows is important. And what it's trying to talk about as closing the chest, lift the back is as well, is trying to keep you from being top heavy. So I'm going to put that down. So how do we not get knocked over? How do we not fall over? How do we not lose our balance? How do we stay nimble but upright and you know, keep ourselves from falls or being, you know, pushed off our balance accidentally or by someone else? And it's by being rooted. And so one of the ways that you can help stay rooted is, like we said, closed chest, lift back, and another primary one is the sink shoulders, drop elbows. He's basically saying, if I'm up here, try it right now. Like when I do this, my heels actually come off the ground. This is an exaggerated posture, but this is almost impossible for me to do and keep my feet fully rooted on the floor. So when I do this, I naturally come up on my toes a little bit. Not to mention, it pinches off my neck. I start to get tight in my shoulders. So we're trying to avoid that. Sink shoulders does not drop elbows does not mean I'm using these muscles to pull my shoulders down, because then I'm stuck here. So the operative word is loose. They are loose, okay? So just like you don't use excess muscle to hold your head suspended, but you keep it light and swift, you don't use a lot of muscles and force to hold your shoulders down, because that's not loose. And sink elbows, sometimes it hears like, so what, is my Tai Chi down here? No, it's not. It's proportional. So sink elbow on something like single whip, sink elbow, not here, not here. It's proportional. So my elbow is sunk and loose, but it's not down here, right? That's not right. So don't, you know, white crane spreads wings doesn't have to be, that's not right, right? It's here. But I'm not here. See the difference? My shoulder is down. So if I keep my shoulder down, my elbow's going to come down. I can't really do this without my shoulder coming up. So that's what they're talking about with sink shoulders, drop elbows. It's not forcing them down. It's keep your shoulders relaxed, loose, Loose means nimble. Nimble means swift. Swift means not going to get knocked over as much. Okay? Lose your balance. So, yeah, they all kind of fit together, and the end result is to be able to stay in control and able to roll with the punches of life, of the grocery store, of tripping on your carpet at home, of, you know, a dog, you know, running up against you, whatever it is. By being relaxed helps you have those options to not end up being on the floor more than you have to be. Okay, I hope that all makes sense. So that's what the whole, why do we have the 10 important points? To help us get the benefits of Tai Chi that we're looking for. Of course, they refer to it in terms of working with an opponent, which it is applicable, but an opponent is sometimes, like I just said, your pet comes tearing through the house and clips you. That's, you know, a force applied to you, or grocery cart coming out at you unexpectedly. So it doesn't have to be antagonistic. It can just be stuff coming at you. But it's also about relaxing, because Tai Chi is supposed to be relaxing. I understand learning Tai Chi can be a little vexing sometimes, but the more relaxed we can be in our bodies and our minds, the more beneficial Tai Chi will be. So that's a lot of talking. I'm going to spend the next 5 or 6 minutes doing nothing but the first section of the form, thinking about sink shoulders, drop elbows at the expense of everything else, okay? Who cares if your arms and your feet don't go the right place? It's okay. Sink shoulders, drop elbows. Relaxed. All right. Follow along. I'm not going to say anything. If you're at a different pace, that's okay. Sink shoulders, drop elbows. And begin. Possibly here. I think I did all the right brush knee pushes and 2 playing guitars. I'm not 100% sure I did. And this goes back to focus, because Master Gohring yesterday, he put markers on the floor to kind of play around with spacing of students when we have more students here. And I switched my attention to that, and then I was like, did I do it? Oh no, I didn't. So That's what happened if I didn't do it right. And if I did do it right, great for multitasking. But it just shows the proof of being mindful. You know, you can't check out, or, you know, to do Tai Chi correctly, your attention has to be on Tai Chi, not your grocery list, not marks on the floor, not the email that I have to send later. So, just sharing that with my experience, that even people who've been doing this a long time lose our focus. So, don't beat yourself up when it happens to you. How did that feel? For me, I felt a more openness with my arms. Like I felt like in my ward-off energy, and particularly in my white crane spreads wings, I had a relaxed openness with my arms that felt nice, that I don't always have if I'm not exclusively thinking about sink shoulders, drop elbows. Would love to hear what your observations were and your experience doing it. I'd like to run the first section one more time, and again, thinking of nothing other than sink shoulders, drop elbows. Okay? Begin. And release. Another thing I feel I can, my breathing is, I got more lung capacity when I relax my shoulders and sink my elbows. So send us what your experiences are, or if you have questions about anything from either basic training or black sash training, and obviously master's path once we get there. And we'll do our best to answer them either directly or on camera. And with that, let's go ahead and bow out of our black sash training to life skill is creative spirit, which is dragon. The path of self-mastery requires a creative spirit. A creative spirit has no self-doubt. Path of self-mastery requires a creative spirit. A creative spirit has no self-doubt. The path of self-mastery requires a creative spirit. A creative spirit has no self-doubt. Black sash training dismissed. Bound to beginner, intermediate, advanced black sash grab bag assorted students that we have at home. Thanks for being here.